All right, next game, Chargers at the Broncos. The line opened up Chargers -3. It's still -3, although there is like -20, -125 juice on the Chargers. So this could be creeping up to 3.5. Obviously, there's going to be public money on the Chargers. So who do you like in this game?
Yeah, I like the Chargers in this one. I think I've got a unit on them right now. They were finally kind of able to get that win that had long avoided them after so many close games early in the season. But they're playing against the Broncos team that's kind of beat up right now. They do have like some good players on the defensive side of the ball, and they got AJ Boye back last week, which I think is big for them moving forward. But the way Justin Herbert's playing and running this Los Angeles offense is incredible. And we just saw him drop 40 points on, granted it was the Jaguars, but he was playing without the right side of his offensive line. Like Brian Bulaga and Trey Turner, arguably his two best offensive linemen were out for the game. So, I mean, the fact that he was able to score that easily and just make the throws he's making look so easy is a very, very good sign. So if they get one or both of those guys back, I think the Chargers could run away with this thing on offense. And defensively, they're still dealing with some injury issues. They did get Melvin Ingram back, and he and Joey Bosa, they're kind of always banged up at this point, but they should be able to get pressure on Drew Lock, who is not playing well and is turning the ball over a lot. So I think if they can pressure him and force him into mistakes, that'll be good. The only other thing I'm watching here is how is Melvin Gordon going to do in a revenge game? I imagine they'll try to force feed him a lot, the Broncos, that is, get him a lot of touches, especially with Phillip Lindsay dealing with a concussion. But I think that the Chargers are just the better side. They have the better personnel. The health part of it, you have to take that into an equation, which is why I only have one unit on the Chargers right now. But I do think they're the right side at this price.
Yeah, the offensive line injuries are the big thing for me. Like I remember last week where I assumed that Bulaga and Trey Turner would be back because they had the bye week, and then I saw they weren't going to play, and I was disappointed. And then for a second, I thought, I was like, oh man, I can't bet the Chargers. And then I remembered that they were playing the Jaguars, so it didn't matter because the Jaguars have no pass rush. But the Broncos do. The Broncos can get after the quarterback pretty well. They sacked Patrick Mahomes 3 times last week, even though Mahomes didn't even throw that much. They limited Mahomes to 200 yards passing. So the Broncos can really feast on quarterbacks if they don't have an offensive line intact. It was 2 weeks ago where they just dominated in New England, and they beat Cam Newton. Now, like, granted, we saw what Newton did against the 49ers, but still, like, they limited the Patriots to 12 points. So, you know, I think last week's result was misleading. Because the Chiefs scored a pick six and then a kickoff return, and then Melvin Gordon fumbled a flea flicker. Like, it just seemed like everything that could have went wrong for the Broncos went wrong. So if the Broncos, I think the Broncos could play a lot better. And if the Chargers are missing the right side of their offensive line again, I think the Broncos I think they could pull the upset. But if the Chargers get back Trey Turner and Brian Bulaga and all they're missing is Mike Pouncey, I think the Chargers should be able to win. Like, I'd agree with your analysis at that point. So, yeah, this is really going to depend on the offensive line status. Like, right now, I'm going to just side with the Chargers. But if this line moves to 3.5, I would probably side with the Broncos before learning all the injury stuff.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think if this moved to 3.5, it would be a no bet for me on the Chargers. And then, you know, if we see Trey Turner and Brian Bulaga back, I'd be a lot more bullish on it. Daryl Farmer mentioned Chris Harris. He is huge as well. His absence in some of those close games made a massive difference. So having him back is big. I like this Chargers team long term. Like, I feel like if they hadn't had so many injuries to start the year, and if Anthony Lynn hadn't, you know, been like, oh yeah, Tyrod Taylor's going to start the season, you know, maybe did they beat the Bengals in week 1? They did. Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
But
almost at the end.
They almost didn't because the Bengals almost tied it. But, you know, I feel like that game would have been a lot easier with Herbert at quarterback. But yeah, I like the Chargers for now, but we'll see. If their offensive line isn't healthy, I definitely won't bet it.
Well, to add to your point, like, Herbert had no practice time against the Chiefs, like, heading into that game. So if he had some practice time, maybe he would have played even better than he did in his debut. So I think that's something to add as well. Yeah, I mean, the Chargers, like, they almost beat the Saints. They almost beat the Buccaneers. They almost beat the Chiefs. If they won all three of those games, their record would be 4-1 right now, and they would be favored by a lot more against the Broncos. So I think you have to. That's something else to take into account. So maybe I'm talking myself more into the Chargers here, but I really need to see their offensive line healthy because if they're missing 3 starting offensive linemen against a great Denver front, like that's just so much of an advantage to the Broncos. So I think this is a tough game to call, like right now, like given that we don't have all the information.
Definitely, I agree with that.
Okay.